Yo, what up, guys? We're back. It's another week of madness. We're on the clock. And It's time to dig into some college basketball for this week. How are we feeling, Julian?
Dude, this is a fun one. I
Yeah, I
say
mean,
that every week,
this
but
has been another great
this
week.
week was more fun than last week.
Yeah, I mean, we've been blessed with a great college basketball season so far in terms of team performances, player performances, and the more specific end prospect performances. But above all, we're just seeing good basketball games being played.
Yeah, the quality of the games in the early season, outside of that first week where it was a lot of like we got over the yay college basketball's back, and it was more about, we're watching 40-point blowouts by pretty much everybody playing against their warm-up game, except for Florida State, who didn't really get a warm-up game. But now we're getting into the meat of the season. All the cool out of conference tournaments are happening. We got the Battle for Atlantis. We got the Maui Invitational. We had the Champions Classic last weekend. I mean,
Charleston
it's starting
Classic.
to really heat up.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Charleston Classic too. The
all
Phil
lived up
Knight
to the hype.
Legacy Tournament.
Yeah, all lived up to the hype. So if you're new here or if you're back for more, you know how we start around here. I'm going to recap the top 25. So number one, we have UNC, Houston, number two, Kansas three, Texas moving up to four, hopped up 7 spots. The biggest riser, one of the biggest risers, really, I think they're maybe the second, at least in the top 25, is Virginia moving up to five, Gonzaga at six, Baylor at seven. Shout out to Ben Vanderplas, by the way, with that Virginia there. Eight, Duke, nine, Arkansas, 10, Creighton, two teams that we're going to see each other go against tonight. Um, Indiana, 11, Michigan State rising up 14 spots to 12, Auburn, 13, Arizona, 14, Kentucky dropping down 11 to 15, Illinois moving up to 16, San Diego State, 17, Alabama, 18, UCLA dropping down to 19. The only two-loss team. Oh, wait, no, I lied. Them and Kentucky are the only two-loss teams in the top 25. UConn still undefeated, 5-0, moving up 5 spots to 20. 21, Texas Tech, 22, Tennessee, 23, Maryland, 24, Purdue, and 25, Iowa. Three straight Big Ten teams rounded out.
I mean, great week for the Big Ten, I gotta say.
Yeah, they had a good. I mean, we did his thing. You know what I mean? I mean, the Big Ten's been playing well. If I'm not mistaken, most of the teams there are, fairly well. I'm going to take a peek at the Big Ten rankings right now. But do you want to go through some of our storylines? Yeah, every single team in the Big Ten, is 3-1 or better.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Um, there were a lot of battles between ranked teams this week, which was exciting. Obviously the big game of the week that everyone was looking forward to. There were two. Um, I would say that Duke Kansas was a much better game than Gonzaga Kentucky. Gonzaga kind of was pissed after getting the hell beaten out of them by Texas in Texas. And they really took it to Kentucky on Sunday. But Duke Kansas was a battle all the way till the end. Jalen
definitely.
Wilson had a really good game. Um, a guy we'll get to, Kyle Filipowski, really showed out for Duke. And Derek Lively didn't look so hot for them. Tyrese Proctor didn't look so hot for them. But I think that's kind of all growing pains. Duke and Kentucky, I'm not. I would if I were a fan of either of those teams, I wouldn't be hitting the panic button just yet. Um, those are teams that tend to heat up as the season rolls on anyway. And I've talked about this with Trevor over on Two Pointers that I think that especially given that Duke's got a new coach coming in, for people that don't remember, Coach K retired. Um, so it's John Shire. Yeah, John Shire's been in the program a long time, but it's for his first year calling the shots. And so I think that him and the players are having to adjust to this new system. So Duke especially, I think, is going to take a little bit longer for them to really look up to speed, especially their young freshmen.
Yeah, I agree. I think Whitehead's going to take some time to come along, and with Kentucky. they're still figuring out how to utilize as many players that they have that are capable. So, I mean, both those teams are going through growing pains right now, and like you said, they'll heat it up as the season goes on. Other stuff that is notable. Arizona State blows out Michigan, and then Michigan also needed overtime to beat Ohio. So there's some struggles for Michigan there, but I'm not worried about it. There's a pretty stable team. I don't think they're better than Illinois, but definitely looking like a top three team in the Big Ten so far. UNLV beat Dayton. Dayton just struggling with their consistency. Mongoy and Mike's been playing pretty well, and so is Deron Holmes, but just the consistency needs to be there with that team. And then Texas A&M obviously lost 2 games, or no, yeah, they lost 2 games, right, to Colorado and Murray State. But
Yeah, they
this,
lost Colorado and Murray State, and then they came back and they won a game. I think it was against Loyola Chicago, who they beat over the weekend.
yeah,
Um,
a rough weekend for them. Obviously, also we had the big matchup that we were talking about last week with UCLA and Illinois. Jalen Clark against Terrence Shannon Jr., two wing prospects that I'm pretty excited about. And Terrence Shannon obviously lit the world on fire.
oh
Probably,
my God,
probably,
dude.
probably made himself of quite a bit of money in the future there on last
He
week.
was unreal, man.
Yeah. And Oregon and Houston wasn't as entertaining of a game as I hoped it would be. But I mean, that's not really surprising with the overall talent on Oregon's roster.
You know
Um,
what I got coming out of that game before we move on real quick?
yeah.
I think that speaks to how good Houston is rather than how bad Oregon was.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that Oregon's okay. I mean, N'Faly Dante is obviously a good player and a stable big man. It's just about can Kalal Ware come in and find his role and take them over the top. And we have yet to see where he's going to do that yet. Moving on to the mid-major performers. We only got 3 this week, and I feel like it's fair because these are probably 3 of the better performing guys in the entire country as a whole. Um,
Yeah.
we can't talk about mid-major performances without talking about Tucker DeVries, who had himself, quite a last. We're obviously recording this on Tuesday. Um, you know, he had himself quite a 4 days. They had 3 games in 4 days. And he lit the world on fire, including, a perfect performance last night on Monday, from the field. He's been unreal. I mean, some of the shot making is pretty ridiculous. Drake's a really good team. If you didn't know, Tucker DeVries is being coached by his dad. He's 6'7" sophomore guard. So, he's legit. The shot making's there. It's kind of crazy how effective he is at scoring the ball.
Yeah, I think Drake's going to be one of those teams that if you're a high major and you're a 4 or 5 seed, you do not want to see Drake's name come up on the team sheet in March.
Yeah, no,
I don't think it's
nobody's gonna want to play against Tucker DeVries.
no, I think it's very likely that they win their conference, and they're a team that I want to stay away from as much as I can.
Yeah. And talking about mid-major prospects, when you're going to come across me and talking about basketball, um, most chances I'm going to mention Jalen Slauson, and it's taken until the third episode of this for me to actually bring him up. Beyond just talking about Furman, but Jalen Slauson's really good at basketball. I've enjoyed watching Furman start the year. Just the way that he approaches the game is very good. It's a positive. He's a positive in every way on the floor. There's not a lot of things that he doesn't do well. And I think when you're talking about mid-major players, you're normally talking about a guy who's scoring a lot of points or has crazy physical attributes. And I think Jalen Slauson presents himself in a different way, where he's above average athlete. He has some game breaking ability, but it's the little things that he does better than most people in the country that make him a really exciting player. So that's my Jalen Slauson TED Talk for the day. Ben Shepard for Belmont's also been balling. He's been shooting the cover off the ball. He's not really been missing shots, shooting above 50% from the field in pretty much every single game that he's played this year. He's really exciting. He's a fun player to watch. Lanky 6'7" wing, can get out in transition. He's got some grab and go potential. I've enjoyed watching him the last couple of days. A new guy on my radar.
Yeah, I mean the one matchup that was really fun to watch, and we'll get into prospect matches for this upcoming week. The Jalen Slauson and Gigi Jackson matchup was really exciting to watch. It was on, was it Friday or Saturday? I can't remember.
Yeah,
It was Saturday because yeah, because they played Penn State Friday. Um, and yeah, I was looking. It was funny. I was looking through when we were doing the mid major report, and I was like, did we like? I was sure we talked about Jalen Slauson before. I couldn't believe it, man. I was like, oh snap,
yeah,
Jalen Slauson hasn't made the list, man.
yeah. I've tried to control my need to talk about him, but he finds his way into the conversation sometimes. Um, Stocks on the rise. It's hard to talk about, again, guys that had recent performances normally kind of get, the fame on here on this show. And no more recent performance than Anthony Black. Absolutely just torching a sorry Louisville team.
Yeah,
Um,
they stink.
yeah, I mean, I think just to see him play with a little bit more free flowing, play a little bit more comfortably was really exciting to see. And I think that that's the biggest takeaway is to see that, he can kind of let loose at the next level in basketball. That he's doing things that we haven't really seen him do since, even on the USA team, he was quite timid. But he was playing a lot more aggressive and playing much more like himself. And Fale Dante, we mentioned him earlier. Despite the loss to Houston, he was still a monster. Just like, I'm always, acknowledging when people are going to be beasts. And, I just made an Fale Dante tweet and, he showed out. He showed out in against Houston. 16 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, and 2 steals. It's a stat sheet stuffer. Big boy.
Dude, it would have been nice if, someone else on Oregon had decided to like help him a little bit. But finally, like it was very clear to me and Caleb, who were both watching this game, that Oregon is gonna go as far as N'Faly Dante can take them.
Yep.
And he's a force, man. He really is a force. He does so many things well and is just a true center. Um, like I think that he is one of the better pure centers in this class
Yeah.
when
I
we're when all said and done.
When it's all said and done, I think I'll probably find myself agreeing with you on that one. Just letting people know Creighton, Arkansas tipped off just a couple minutes ago. Um, so moving on to the next guy. We got Brandon Miller, who's been balling. No other way to put it. He's just been just about better than anybody else in the country. I think in almost every area, and especially the best. Probably he's definitely been the best freshman.
So far, yeah.
Yeah,
Without given that Nick Smith and Cam Whitmore are yet to see the floor, yeah.
yeah. Those are two guys that I have sitting right around, in a little sandwich with Brandon Miller on my big board right now with Whitmore at 3, Smith at 5. So I'm loving what I've seen from him so far. I don't want to say too much because I think you just got to go watch him if you haven't. Um,
Now's a great time to do it.
he can really do it all.
I
Um,
mean, look, we've yet the only my only for those of you who have seen me on Twitter, my only qualm with him is that he hasn't been tested yet, and he's going to be tested this week. That's all I have to say.
yeah,
But he's been ridiculous.
he'll finally start to see some competition here as the season rolls on. Kyle Filipowski has been cementing himself as a guy who's going to be a first round pick. I think this upcoming draft, I don't see a world where people aren't able to see what he can do at both ends. The questions that we had about his point of attack defense have been answered. He's going to be able to stay out there um, and defend at least a college level. And I think that probably puts him at he'll be a below average defender coming into the NBA, but I think he's still underrated. I think he'll be able to get the job done. And then you put on top of the fact that he's a very versatile offensive player, can shoot the ball, handle, does a lot of things in transition, willing playmaker and a capable playmaker at that. There's a lot to be excited about with Phil Filipowski, and Again, another guy who is living up to the hype.
Yeah, I think he's been the best Duke freshman so far.
I think he's been
Um,
the best Duke player so far.
yeah, Roach hasn't been that great so far this year.
Yeah.
I expected more from him, to be honest. Um, I mean, Mark Mitchell's been like okay. Proctor's
But I
been
mean,
like up
Mark
and
Mitchell
down.
hasn't had any games that have been better than Kyle Filipowski's games, and just
No,
the whole, he's been. They're a good complement to each other. I don't think it's a knock on Mitchell as a player. I just Filipowski's production's been great.
yeah,
Speaking of two other guys that, especially more recently, have been starting to heat up with Judah Mintz and Chris Murray. Both guys that coming into the year maybe weren't getting as much respect as they deserve, especially in the case of Chris Murray. Both of them are starting to show that they might be legit first round prospects when it's all said and done. I think both of them are performing very well and are two of the hottest players in the country. For Chris Murray plays the game the right way, really smart and intelligent with his positioning on the floor, his ability to get open. And Judah Mintz is just a bucket getter and a hooper. And I think he plays the game with a lot of passion and he plays the game hard. So I appreciate that. I like those type of guys.
yeah. Judah's definitely a flashier player. Um, but dude, it's so weird how similar Chris Murray is to Keegan Murray. Like
Yeah.
the way that he shoots, the way that he moves, the way that he looks, like it's they're not the same player, and I don't want them to get lumped into that because they're related. But there are times where the resemblance is a bit uncanny. Um, and it's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
it's it's pretty unreal how close they are. And I just will not compare the two at any point. Now my favorite part of the podcast, NCAA Women's Game of the Week. Obviously we talked about South Carolina, Stanford, lived up to the battle, or lived up to the hype. I'm sorry, lived up to the
it
battle.
was a
It
battle
was a
for
battle.
sure.
It was a battle. Leah Boston led the Gamecocks in scoring and rebounding with 14 and 13. She's a beast, going to be the first overall pick. I think that's pretty much written in. Bree Hall came off the bench providing 12 points, and Cam Brink, she had 25 and 4 for Stanford, but she fouled out in overtime. So it's hard to help your team when you're not on the court. Really hoping that both these teams they're probably going to meet again at some point. I think either in the championship or at some point in the tournament they'll find each other again. And it'll probably be a really good game next time as well.
Yeah.
South Carolina and Stanford, both well coached teams, play the game the right way, move the ball. With South Carolina, when you have a player as dominant as Boston is, it's hard not to be a perennial championship contender. Um, Now, kind of moving into next week, previewing some men's games. Obviously, there's Creighton, Arkansas tonight, as well as Arizona, San Diego State, um, Kansas versus NC State. Turk versus Kansas, which should be fun. And then Tennessee taking on Butler. Both those games are tomorrow. Dayton versus Wisconsin. I appreciate you showing Wisconsin some love. It should be a good game. I'm excited to see. Do you know if it's at Wisconsin? Do you think it is it?
It may be on a neutral site. I can't remember.
But
I
regardless,
didn't
good
check
stuff.
too hard.
Good stuff there. Um, Go Badges. Go Badges. UConn, Oregon, kind of the battle of the front courts there. We got Klingon versus Kalel Ware and Adama Sanogo versus Fale Dante. That should be an entertaining matchup. Finally, Alabama's getting some competition like Julian's been so desperately asking for. That take on State. Um, so both of those are going to be exciting. Then we also have, some Maui Invitational Battle for Atlantis games still be decided in some matchups still.
Yeah, so for the record, just to clarify a little bit, the winner of Creighton, Arkansas is going to face the winner of Arizona, San Diego State in the Maui Invitational. So no matter what, I think we're going to get a good game out of that. That's going to be two ranked teams. And then the winner of Kansas NC State will face the winner of Butler, Tennessee in the battle for Atlantis. Um, so I think that honestly, the current battle for Atlantis game of Kansas NC State is probably the best game of the tournament. Because as I've said before, I'm not a big believer in Tennessee. So if I were to pick a tournament to tune into, if you're not doing anything on Thanksgiving or over the weekend, I'd watch the Maui Invitational. Just throwing that out there.
Fair enough. Well, nobody may have asked for Julian's opinion, but they got it anyway. Um, so for the women's side, we have North Carolina versus Oregon, and South Carolina versus UCLA. Both of them taking place in the next week. South Carolina, UCLA, I believe, is on next Tuesday. So, that'll be the next time we'll see Aaliyah Boston in action, and she's really been my favorite thing to watch in college women's basketball. Besides, other teams and other places. But it's just it's good to see good basketball, and she dominates the game at every level. Some notable prospect matchups that we kind of talked about up there. We had Jalen Wilson versus Terquavion Smith, Max Lewis and Houston Millette versus Amari Bailey and Jalen Clark. When is Pepperdine playing UCLA?
They're playing them, I think, Friday.
Okay.
It's either it's I have to go back and check, but it's later in the week.
And we have
Um,
Judah Mintz versus Sky Clark. With obviously Illinois and Syracuse. When is that game taking place?
that is on the Monday.
So the 28th. Sweet.
Yeah, that's a late game. That's a later in the week game.
I mean, it's awesome and exciting to be looking forward always. Um, I'm exhausted.
Sorry, late.
It's been a long weekend of watching basketball, working, and trying to still exist on this big rock.
Sorry, correction. The Pepperdine UCLA game is tomorrow, and the Illinois Syracuse game is on Tuesday, not Monday.
Sick.
So
Cool beans. Cool beans, guys. This has been a low energy one. I'm pretty tired. It's been a long week. It's my birthday today, so I've just been kicking it.
yeah, birthday boy.
Big
Yeah, he's 21.
So we're relaxing, we're having a good time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Next week we'll probably be a little bit more locked in and have a little bit more energy and a little bit more things to say. But this has still been an interesting week and still been a good podcast. I'm looking forward to just seeing how the season continues. I hope that it keeps the pace and the energy that it's had. Because I need it. I've been addicted to college basketball.
Tell you what, as soon as we get off this podcast, I'm starting curtain in Arkansas on my TV as fast as I possibly can, man.
It's already loading on my phone right now. So it's kind of a rough time, guys. We're gonna have to get going. There's basketball to be watched, but the next time we'll see where the madness takes us. We're off the clock.